Hey everybody, this is just a quick intro to the video you're about to watch. I'd suggest just listening to it because there isn't going to be much of a visual on it as it is just me sitting here talking. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. The Tale of Primordial Draenor. It's an interesting tale to say the least. If we look at it from way back then, the ogre is called Draenor for Doggo, or Doggo, however you may want to say it, meaning the known earth, but I mean, this story takes place way before that, like millennia of years before. It all started with Draenor being the it wasn't it wasn't that it was a special planet, so to speak, but it was. It didn't have a hidden Titan soul within. It didn't have minerals and stuff as of yet. But it did have one thing. It was oversaturated with the fifth element, the spirit of life. Ah, the spirit of life. Isn't that from? No. Anyways, um, and this gave way to, because there weren't any manifestations of elements. There weren't any big scary fire people with maces and stuff. So it gave way to the plant life and the wildlife. It thrived. But the most savage of creatures didn't hunt with tooth and claw. No. They hunted with poison and brambles and thorns and vines and all that weird plant stuff. Um, the most the predominant species of plant that came to be was known as the spore mounts. And their hunger, it knew no boundaries. It came to be, and it just kept feeding and feeding and searching for food. It dug deep into the well to find water. It ate cats and river beasts and whatever was on Draenor. It just ate everything. It was a carnivorous species of plant. Hmm. Eventually, it dug so deep into the ground that it found, I'd say, a pocket maybe of this spirit of life, or maybe just the entire thing hidden inside the world. It found the spirit of elements, at least. Let's put it that way. And what happened next was it really accelerated in growth. I mean, before there were living mountains. At this point, there were like, I don't know, living bigger mountains, I guess. This discovery of the spirit of life with the spore mounts ended up bringing the sentience, well, more sentience to the species and the wildlife around the spore mounts. It became known, it became a whole sentient collective, like a hive mind, like the hive mind on the Zerg from StarCraft, for instance. And it just started eating everything, even more than it did before. And what happened was that if any immediate threat happened, the whole forest, swamp, whatever, acted in unison, but there weren't any threats because the spore mounds and the plant growth just ate everything. The entire plant was covered in wall-to-wall carpet of moss and trees and stuff like that. So yeah. But then one day, Agrama, the Titan Pantheon, came by. He just swung by and was like, "Hey, no." On his usual patrol, search, whatever, looking for demons, he came across the world and he was intrigued. He saw what these spore mounts did to the world, and he was not very happy about it. Um, he couldn't just leave Draenor in the state it was because he could see that eventually the spore mounts would just eat everything, the entire planet, and even the elemental beings, the elemental spirits that were lingering. Like, it still had fire and wind and all that, just not any physical manifestations of them. So he decided to take action. At first, he thought that maybe he should just remove them by hand, but granting his immense size, he was afraid that he would either destroy the planet or cause irreversible damage, like they did on Azeroth when they ripped one of the old gods out of the world and it caused the Titan soul to bleed. Soul stuff, magic. I don't know. So what he decided to do was he created Grond, a very, very big mountain thing. It was a very, very, very big creature. I mean, the book describes them. I mean, I can imagine when I read the book, I'm imagining like you can see them from space, as in they make indentations. I'm moving my hand around like expecting it to recall. I think I'm a moron. Regardless, indentation isn't even the word. That means the opposite of what I meant. I meant hump. Anyways, Agramar, he took the tallest mountain and made Grond this huge, colossal being who just decided, I want 2 legs. And so he stood up when Agramar, he did whoopity 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 with his hand, and up came Grond. Grond, he immediately started his mission to defeat the Spore Mounts. He raised mountains, carved out rivers and oceans and valleys to stop the growth of the Spore Mounts. Of course, the Spore Mounts weren't happy with this. They were like, oh hell no! And they threw everything at him. Vines, brambles, thorns, whatever they had in their arsenal. However, this was not nearly enough to stop Grond. He barely even felt it. He just smashed through them with his fists of fire and fury and stuff. And eventually he came close to one of the Spore Mounts and he thrusted his jagged fingers into the heart of it, and in one great heave just threw it away. Like the script I made for this, because yeah. The Spore Mounts decided that they needed a new weapon. They looked upon Grond with awe and jealousy, and they were like, we want to walk too. And so they did. There were 3 Spore Mounts in total, and they all drew the life from the wildlife around them and left behind only withered forms of landscape. There were 3 Spore Mounts in total. The first, they all represented the different areas of the Evergrowth's domain. The first one was Sang. He was covered in swampland, and he actually is the reason for Sangamash, which I will cover later. And the other one was Botan. He was covered in forest. And the last one was Nanu. He was covered in dense jungle. And they moved against Grond. They were roughly the same size, and as they moved all 3 towards Grond to fight him, the world buckled beneath their weight. It didn't shatter or anything like that. It just was like, too much. And I think we'll end it there. In the next episode, we'll cover the fall of Grond. Spoilers, he's gonna die. But so are the 3 others. They're all gonna die. But it's for the greater good, trust me. You'll hear more of it. Hey everybody, this is just a quick outro for the thing that you have just heard. This is my first YouTube video concerning the lore around WoW. I hope you enjoyed it. That's all. Thank you. Bye.